What is up, guys? Welcome back. Another episode here of the Fantasy Fellow Show. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone's having a good day. We're gonna get through a lot of stuff today. We're gonna start with the player news, and then I can open up the start-sit charts. We can look at data. We can do whatever the direction that this show goes. We're gonna do it. I'm gonna start by just reading the underdog player news that came out today. We'll start with the first tweet from the morning. Packers right tackle Zach Tom unlikely to play. So Green Bay without one of their best offensive linemen against Dallas. I'm not too concerned about it. We're getting reports on Michael Penix Jr. Like people are already questioning if he's going to be the starting quarterback there anymore. So they're saying good things though about Michael Penix. I had been looking at the Michael Penix stuff, and it looks like they just need to get more creative on offense. They're kind of predictable with how they're lining up just their alignments, and their personnel usages are kind of dictating what's going on. So I don't think I'm too concerned about Drake London and things yet. If we don't have a good game against Washington, then we'll probably have some concerns going forward. But for now, one more week, we'll give it a try. Malik Neighbors not practicing today with the shoulder injury. Tomorrow will be a big day. If he misses tomorrow, then I'm concerned. But for now, Wednesday, we'll let it slide. Jaden Daniels limited today. I think that's on track. That's good news. Terry McLaurin, though, not practicing. I also read reports about him getting second opinions with a core muscle guy. I don't like this one. Terry McLaurin's basically 30 years old. People think he's a lot younger than what he really is, but he's a 30-year-old receiver, I believe. And a quad injury here has me a little concerned. Jackson Dart, of course, will start the rest of the season. We got the report from the Giants yesterday. Dable just continuing to praise Jackson Dart here. Nolan Smith, this is a big one for the Eagles defense. Maybe not a ton of fantasy impact here. Maybe, though. Nolan Smith on IR is going to miss a few games here. I thought this was an interesting tweet here from Underdog. They're saying the Patriots running back order in this specific drill, and this is from Mike Reese, who's like one of the most trusted Patriots beat writers. Travion Henderson went first, Gibson went second, and Ramondre went third. So that's kind of exciting. If you are a Travion Henderson owner, that's what you want to see. And it only took 3 games for Ramondre to potentially lose this lead role here in this offense. So I think we're going to see more Travion this weekend. It's a good matchup against the Carolina Panthers. I think if you have Trey Henderson, you're probably playing him this week. Russell Wilson won't request a trade or release, whatever. This one was interesting. Ted McMillan, Xavier Legette don't practice today. I did see they came out and said McMillan expects to play in week 4 here, so I'm overly not too concerned about McMillan here. We're in week 3. These guys have already starting to take some hits. Wednesday is typically one of those rest days. I'm not overly concerned about McMillan missing today. I think Legette is more truly questionable, but I'm assuming McMillan just kind of got a light workload today. And then I think if you guys are in deeper leagues, this might be the last opportunity to go and grab Jalen Coker off your waiver wire for free. He had the quad injury before the season started. He was going to be the starting slot receiver for this team, and we've seen Hunter Renfrow have at least one really nice game, and he's out there for all the slot snaps. I think Coker steps right into that role, and he's a better player than Hunter Renfrow at this point. So I'm going to say last call for Jalen Coker. Alec Pierce not practicing for the Colts. I think if he is out, that's going to make Josh Downs interesting, but it's probably going to just boost Adonai Mitchell the most. Like Mitchell would be out there running. He'd get the biggest increase of snaps and routes and participation. So we'll keep an eye on Pierce, but I'm assuming he doesn't play with a concussion. I did rewatch that game, and he came down pretty hard on his head. So I'd be shocked if he plays this week. Colston Loveland doesn't practice today. I think if you need tight end help, Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet had already been leading the team in snaps and routes. But if no Loveland in this one, I think that's going to be an interesting spot for Kmet. We see Oronde Gadsden, the Chargers rookie tight end. He had 5 catches last week, and they're saying good things about him. Herbert and Harbaugh both said good things about him. We'll see how this goes for L'Jarius Sneed and Nico Collins. But when asked about Nico Collins, L'Jarius Sneed said who? So we'll leave that there. Brock Purdy limited today. Ricky Pearsall did not practice. Juwan Jennings did not practice. But they're saying Ricky Pearsall does expect to play. We didn't get that exact quote about Juwan Jennings. So I think Jennings is still a true questionable to doubtful. Ricky Pearsall is more probable than questionable. And I think we're going to see Brock Purdy in week 4 here. This one was a bit of an eyebrow raise. Bill Krosky-Merritt does not practice today. They were wondering if this is more of a rest day for him and maybe there's bigger workloads coming. He did look really good. I rewatched that game last night and I thought like when you see Chris Rodriguez run the ball versus Krosky-Merritt, like there's a electricity difference. Bill Krosky-Merritt he's lightning in a bottle when he gets the ball and he's making people miss and he's a fun watch. So I think Krosky-Merritt, if you're banking on him this week, I think he's okay. Let's see tomorrow what happens. There's the expected to play reports I mentioned earlier. Xavier Worthy, full practice today. That's a good sign. I think he's playing in week 4 here. Zach Charbonnet listed as questionable for Thursday, but I saw he was a full participant in practice today. I'm assuming Zach Charbonnet is good to go. Don't know how I feel about starting him, though, now that Kenneth Walker has gotten some run these last 2 weeks. I think he's just a bench player, and we get a really good primetime opportunity to watch this Seahawks offense and see how it unfolds. So I'm going to pause on the Charbonnet in my starting lineup. Isaiah Likely limited today. I think he plays this weekend. Will Shipley, good to see him back. If you need someone to add as a roster handcuff, like end of your bench, if you want to drop somebody, I think adding Will Shipley's fine. Chris Godwin, full practice today. Now, Diami Brown didn't practice today. He left week 3 with a shoulder injury. And I was watching all the stuff about the Jags and Liam Cohen today, and they basically said that, no, Travis Hunter is not going to be like the next man up after Diami Brown, Brown was the number 2 receiver in snaps and routes. I think if you want to add Parker Washington to your team at the end of your bench, that would be the guy that's going to operate as the number 2 receiver in Jacksonville. So go check out Parker Washington. Michael Mayer does not practice today. We'll see about his availability over the next few days, but there you go. We're up to date on the player news. And good evening, everybody. Good evening to Jason. I'm going to answer your question. I was kind of looking at these questions earlier because I've been at the computer for the last 20 minutes or so. But we'll get your questions answered here off the bat for Jason. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening. David Montgomery or Chase Brown, both guys are completely polar opposites of what they did week 3. My rankings, in a half PPR, I might lean Montgomery there because I think he's got the better odds to get the rushing touchdown. With Chase Brown in a full PPR, that's probably where I would lean. But because it's a half PPR question, I'm going to say David Montgomery here. Pickens or Keenan Allen, half PPR. Again, I think Keenan Allen right now is just getting more opportunities to catch the ball. Even with CeeDee Lamb out, I think Keenan Allen has better odds for a touchdown. He's got better odds to catch 4 or 5 passes in this one, and he's just going to get you 50, 60 yards. I'm going Keenan Allen, who I have ranked pretty highly in my rankings this week. And then choose 3, Mason, Hampton, Dobbins, Etienne, and Pollard. Okay, I think you're locking yourself in with Mason. Just the lead back roles while Aaron Jones gone. It's a tough matchup on paper against the Steelers, but teams have been able to run on the Steelers, so I'm locking in Mason and that touchdown upside. Hampton, give me Hampton against the New York Giants without Najee Harris. I think we're all going to see a lot of nice opportunities for Hampton going forward now that Najee's gone. And then I'm going to play J.K. Dobbins at home against the Cincinnati Bengals Monday Night Football. Etienne against the 49ers. Tony Pollard against the Texans. I'm probably going to shy away from those guys there, Jason. And hey, good evening to Christian. Juwan Johnson versus Buffalo or Mark Andrews versus Chiefs. So we finally got the Mark Andrews game that we've been wanting, which is good to see. But I'm slightly concerned here, man. Isaiah Likely is going to be back, and there's only been 1 usable game for Mark Andrews. I think we've had 3 out of 3 usable games from Juwan Johnson. So he is the safer, higher play. If we just pull up my rankings here, which you guys, if you guys get the fellowship, the fantasy fellowship membership, you guys have access to these rankings here. I mean, I still got Juwan Johnson as my tight end 7, Mark Andrews here at tight end 10. So I'm going to say Juwan Johnson here in a game where, sure, it could get ugly early, but I know the Saints are going to have to keep throwing the ball. We're going to go Juwan Johnson here. And good evening, Double Tap. I hope you're doing well, my man. Whew. Coming in hot with the Matthew Golden or DK Metcalf. I kind of want to roll with DK Metcalf. Like, if I just pull up my wide receiver rankings here, I got DK Metcalf as my wide receiver 25, but you don't have to go that far down to find Matthew Golden here at wide receiver 37. The only issue with Matthew Golden is we've seen glimpses of it, but we haven't seen him put together a full, complete game yet. He finally got 10 fantasy points last week in PPR, and he could have had a bigger day. Ended up with 4 catches on 4 targets and 3 carries, which was nice. Playing against Dallas, though, I think if you want to go with a safe floor, you probably take the Metcalf 8 to 10 points there, because we know he's going to catch 3 or 4 passes and make some damage. Basically, the bet is who's going to score a touchdown here. And right now, everything's aligning for the Packers passing offense against this Dallas Cowboys defense. So I get it. If you want to go Matthew Golden, I think this is a good opportunity to do so. If we're sticking to my rankings, I think Metcalf offers a higher floor and maybe a higher ceiling, but we know he's going to catch those 4 or 5 passes. We know he's going to catch some big plays. And if they do score a touchdown, there's a very good chance that Metcalf is the one catching it. So I'm going to lean DK Metcalf, but if you are the underdog here, I might take a little risk here and swing for Golden. And good evening to Troy. Okay. So if your receivers are stacked, I don't think we're going to see Chris Godwin enter your lineup. And honestly, Dak and Geno are your QBs, which are kind of, they're middling QB1s. I think you can play matchups with those two guys, but I don't know if Chris Godwin's going to be 100% at any point this year. It's good to see him practicing in full and things like that, but he also has a high re-injury risk. I know Mike Evans is going to be out for a few games, so we should see Godwin play a lot right away, but there might also be some ramp-up time for him. And then what happens when Mike Evans returns? I'm fine with this. You're swapping out a player that we don't know anything about yet for this season, whereas Daniel Jones has passed the test in 3 straight games, and he probably would just be your default QB1. So if you have 4 or 5 other good receivers on your team and you don't need Godwin, Troy, I think I'm going to pull the trigger on this trade. Christian says, start 2 RBs, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Okay. Wow. We got Trey Benson, Bijan Robinson, Marion Hampton, Tony Pollard, Jordan Mason. The 2 receivers, I guess the receivers are McConkey, Pickens, BTJ, London, and Pittman. So the good news is you have a lot of good options here. If I'm starting 2 wide receivers, I'm gonna stick with McConkey, and I'm gonna stick with Brian Thomas Jr. as my 2 wide receivers. And now the hard part is the running backs. I think you're obviously playing Bijan Robinson. I think you're playing Amari Hampton. And I think I'm playing Jordan Mason at the flex over London, over Pittman, over Benson. Like I feel pretty confident with Jordan Mason in the flex. If you didn't want to go with Jordan Mason, I think Trey Benson's fine. I'm still not super impressed with the Falcons passing offense. So I think it's between Benson and Drake London for me. I think George Pickens, one of my friends made a good argument to me that maybe Pickens needs CeeDee Lamb to be a better play. Maybe this might not mean more productivity for Pickens as he's getting more coverage rolled his way. So in this question, I'm going to stick with Bijan and Hampton as my 2 running backs. I'm going to stick with McConkey and BTJ as my 2 receivers, and then I'm going to go Jordan Mason in the flex. But the good news is you got plenty of good options there, my man. Brett says we lost Connor and Evans. Sorry, man. Which of these 2 would you start? Shaheed, Ferguson, Njoku, Washington? Is that I'm assuming that's Parker Washington, Horton, JCM, Andrews, Shepard, half PPR. So we got a lot of names here. So we have 2 flex spots to fill. I don't hate Rashid Shaheed, who's been pretty good these last few weeks. He hasn't been great, but the one thing that is working for the New Orleans Saints is the passing game to Shaheed and Chris Olave. Olave is catching a ton of passes right now, which has been good to see. And Rashid Shaheed, he's got 20 targets on the year, 9, 5, and 6. Like that actually looks pretty good. He's caught 4 passes in every game. He has a pretty safe floor for me, and I think I can easily see him catching a big play against Buffalo. So I think Shaheed's probably one of the top 2 guys for you that offers, a safe 8 to 10 point floor, and we know he can hit 20 points with a big touchdown. I'm not looking at Horton. I'm not looking at JCM. I think now it comes down to Ferguson, Njoku, and Parker Washington. And I do like Parker Washington, but I think you got to stick with Ferguson right now, who's been the best tight end in terms of targets and receptions so far. So for me, this is Shaheed and probably Ferguson even though I don't feel all that great about it. I think if you want to move Mark Andrews, this is a good week to do so. We do have Isaiah Likely coming back. This is probably the highest scoring game for Mark Andrews all season. If you can flip him for something serviceable that would help your fantasy lineup, I'm totally cool with moving on from Mark Andrews. And Aiden, we're doing good, my man. I'm fantastic here on a Wednesday evening. We're having a good one. And I'm excited for NFC West football tomorrow. We don't really get a lot of those primetime games for the NFC West. And I think Seattle, Arizona, we get a good chance to learn about two teams that we got some questions on. All right. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to assume McLaurin and Diami Brown are going to be out in this one. So Matthew Golden, Jerry Jeudy, Bashal Tutin, Alec Ayomaner, and Chris Rodriguez. I think I'm starting Matthew Golden in this one for sure. I have Matthew Golden this weekend ranked as a wide receiver 3 flex, same as Romeo Doubs. Again, he was the clear number 2 receiver in snaps and routes. He led the team with 4 targets and 4 receptions last week. He also got 3 carries. So he got 7 opportunities to touch the ball last week. I think we're going to continue to see him get, 5, 6, 7, 8 times of a touch per game, whether that's a carry or 2 and 3, 4, 5 catches. So I like Golden the most here. I think I'm fine with Jerry Jeudy. It hasn't looked all that good. I think Tutin, you're banking on a touchdown against a really good opponent in San Francisco, and their defense, it's been good. San Fran, if you look at the 49ers as a whole, they rank as the 7th hardest team to face, and they're not really allowing any fantasy points to any position, maybe the tight end. So maybe Brenton Stranger's in play for the Jags. But the 49ers, man, they are a good defense here. Again, they rank 7th against the running back, about 17 points per game. So even if we divide up ETN and Bashal Tutin evenly down the middle there and give them, 8.5 points, I don't see a ton of ceiling here for Tutin. So Tutin's out. I think Chris Rodriguez is a start if no Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, but I'm not sure about that. Alec Ayomaner against the Texans, I'm just not in love with that matchup. So to me, it's probably Golden for sure. And then I think I'm going to lean Jerry Jeudy here. But again, if no Krosky-Merritt, I'll go with Chris Rodriguez. And we'll leave Tutin on the bench one more week here. And hey, I thank you, Brett. Thank you for hanging out and getting your question in. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a random Wednesday evening. Mr. Fragments, good evening. I just got offered Josh Jacobs for Jordan Mason. What's your opinion on that? So I think I'd probably take Josh Jacobs here. Rest of season, I think the outlook's better. We know Aaron Jones is coming back at some point, even though Aaron Jones hasn't looked great through his 1.5 games that he's played. He is the receiving back. He is going to be a guy that gets a handful of carries. So there's potential for Jordan Mason's workload to go down a little bit. But I think over the next 3 games, we're going to see Jordan Mason continue to look really nice as a bell cow back. He just doesn't have that receiving volume upside that we're looking for. And Josh Jacobs looked pretty good as a receiving back last week. I'm going to take Josh Jacobs here rest of season. This is a good opportunity to swap out your 9th or 10th, 11th round pick and get a 2nd round pick in Josh Jacobs. So I'm taking Jacobs here, Mr. Fragments. Aiden says, I can pick up Parker Washington if Diami is out. Would you play him over one of those? I think I would. I think I would play Parker Washington and Matthew Golden. Honestly, I don't think it's that close. I really like. Did we just lose? Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. I just don't know if you. Hello? Weird. I'm going to keep talking because I know you guys can hear me. My mic is showing that you can hear me. I'm going to pull up the post-game notes from week 3 here. And I was listening to the Liam Cohen stuff today, talking about what happens with Travis Hunter if Diami Brown can't go. And they basically said nothing changes for Travis Hunter. He's basically going to stay locked into this. He called it the F role, which to me is like the slot receiver role. And you see Parker Washington last week step in right into that number 2 spot and play alongside with Brian Thomas Jr. So I'm fully interested here. He did have 10 targets last week. He also caught 5 passes the week before. I'm going to play Parker Washington here, man, and feel pretty comfortable doing it. So I think that is a good pickup if you can. And I'm glad we are on the same trajectory there, Mr. Fragments. And yes, we can still hear me. My camera's off. I don't want to hit refresh. I guess here, bear with me here. Give me 10 seconds. I'm going to hit refresh and try and get this camera back working so you guys can see my view. And we're back. We're back. Yeah, that was weird. My whole computer screen like flashed, and I thought I was going to lose everybody for a sec, but we're back now. Yeah, I think Parker Washington looks really good, guys. 10 targets last week. They just missed him on a couple of throws. There was a deep ball throw that he almost had. I think we're going to probably see the Jags have to open it up in the passing game against the 49ers for them to be successful. So Parker Washington, wide receiver 2. Yeah, I want him on my team, especially. And they're not really saying a lot about Dyami Brown's injury yet, which leads me to think this might be a multi-week absence. And, if we go back to week 2 here, let me see if I can find it. I mean, we saw Parker Washington come out and get 14.1 points, 6 targets on the day against the Bengals. He didn't run a lot of routes, but he was getting targeted when he was out there. So I feel pretty comfortable with Parker Washington this week as a deep wide receiver 3 flex. And I think I have him. I mean, I got him at wide receiver 60 here. I kind of want to move him up. Like I kind of view him like I'd rather play Parker Washington than Keon Coleman. So I'm probably going to move Parker Washington up to the wide receiver 4 territory. And he's kind of right by Jerry Jeudy. That was one of the questions that we did get. I might even rank him ahead of Jerry Jeudy there. So good call on the Parker Washington. I'm going to keep your questions coming in, guys. We got a lot of time left in tonight's program. I kind of want to continue on Wednesday nights and just go over the start sit charts that I've prepared. But we'll answer Aiden's question here. We're trying to trade Terry. Luckily, I have some Commander fans in my league. We offered him for Ricky, then another for DK. Neither manager said no. Okay. I think if you can get Ricky Pearsall or DK Metcalf for Terry McLaurin, I'm probably going to do that like pretty easily straight up. And I did have my concerns on McLaurin coming into the year. A lot of it was, 1, because of the age, and 2, he's coming off a career spike season with touchdowns, which I thought that would come down. Now, if I go to my rest of season ranks here, let's take a look and see where I have Terry McLaurin. And I'm not too high on Terry McLaurin. I actually have him. Where do I have? I have Terry at wide receiver 36. So, I'm going to go, if I can get Chris Olave, I think Olave is a good one. I might even just take Keenan Allen straight up over Terry McLaurin. I would take DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, like just all these names here. I do feel a little bit better about than Terry McLaurin. I might even go down the list a little bit if I can get Matthew Golden. Maybe if I can get maybe you don't want to swip out for Deebo Samuel, but maybe Quentin Johnston might be more appealing. Maybe Jacoby Myers is more appealing. But I think you could, realistically shoot for some of these guys higher above here. So I would trade away Terry McLaurin if I can. And good evening, Mr. Magic. We need help trading. I can do whatever you need, my man. Keenan, Pittman, and Pollard for Wilson and Sketabo. Wilson. Who's Wilson? Garrett Wilson. So we're getting Keenan and Pittman, which right now Keenan Allen he's just been a cheat code in the red zone for Justin Herbert, and then Pittman, I think you're getting 2 valuable wide receiver assets for your 1 Garrett Wilson. And then Pollard for Scatabo. I do like Scatabo. I am nervous about how this offense looks so you're getting Wilson and Scatabo. For me, I like having the flexibility with Keenan and Pittman, and I do like Tony Pollard, but I like Scatabo more. But if you're sitting if you're sitting Keenan or Pittman every week and you want to upgrade to Garrett Wilson, I think that's fine. You're getting the better asset of the group here. My rest of season rankings, I mean, I got Garrett Wilson up here at wide receiver 9. And you lost CD and have BTJ right now. I got Wilson up here at wide receiver 9. I got Keenan down here at wide receiver 22. So you're getting the best receiver. I got Pittman somewhere around here. Pittman at wide receiver 35. So you're getting the best receiver. And I think getting Scatabo right now is probably a pretty good move. So I think I'm cool with that trade there, Mr. Magic. Let's go ahead and do it. Hey, Wan'Dale Robinson, I still like Wan'Dale Robinson as a wide receiver 3 flex. I think Jackson Dart can help him and Malik Neighbors be very valuable the rest of the way. Just Russell Wilson just had he had nothing left to offer this offense. Good evening, 4KT Owen. We're starting 2 between Judkins, Brown, Egbuka, and Benson. And let's get this big question out of the way here. We're dropping Bill Krosky-Merritt for Travion Henderson. Like, you got to go do that now. Like, go do it now. I think we're at this weird thing where, like, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's, like, his media and his presence is bigger than his actual game. Like, he's still a 7th-round pick that's splitting carries with Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols. So Bill still has a long way to go. Travion Henderson, at the beginning of the show, we showed a clip from the Patriots practice where he was running as the first back. It might be Travion Henderson's season. So he offers, we're talking, he was what, a 4th or 5th round pick in your redraft leagues, Travion Henderson was, and Bill Krosky-Merritt was like a 10th, 11th round lottery pick. Give me Travion Henderson over Bill Krosky-Merritt all day. And then starting 2, we're going to get Egbuka in there for sure. We love what he's doing. And then I think I'm interested in Judkins. Honestly, Chase Brown's the worst option of the 4 here. But I kind of want to lean with Trey Benson tomorrow night. I think I'm going to start Benson tomorrow night against the Seahawks, even though it's a tough matchup on paper. And then I'm going to go Egbuka as my number 2 here. With Judkins, I am concerned. Like, for him to get there, he needs to get a touchdown, which he could easily do. But he's not going to offer much as a receiver. I think Benson offers a lot more as a receiver than Judkins, and he's also got the same profile for 14 to 15 carries tomorrow night. So you're kind of locking in 15 carries and 3-4 catches with Benson, whereas Judkins, there's real possibility for them to just get blown out and they have to throw the ball, and I don't feel as great about the Cleveland Browns offense. So I'm going Egbuka and Benson there. And I might be really biased here, man, but just as a Packer fan, I watch the Packers game, and then I usually the next day or later that evening, I'll rewatch the game with NFL Plus. And for 3 games, I've just been watching Matthew Golden get open. And they finally figured it out after the Thursday night football game. Like, they figured out that, hey, this kid gets open. And the first pass on week 3 was to Matthew Golden. The first play of the game was to Matthew Golden. He ends up with the 4 catches, the 3 carries. I think we're just starting to scratch the surface here. We finally got 10 fantasy points. And it looks to me like they realize we got to start getting this kid the ball. The absence of Jaden Reed comes at the benefit of Matthew Golden. So I am pretty excited about him. And I think week 4, Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, who are allowing 300 passing yards per game. Like, Golden has just missed on 3 touchdowns the last couple games. So it's looking like a sweet spot for Golden this week. Should I sell high on Hurts? I can get Fields or Goff off waivers right now. I think if you can find someone to buy Jalen Hurts and get like a potential top 5 asset, whether it's a running back or receiver, I would definitely go do that. And then you can honestly just go add both Goff and Justin Fields, play the matchups and see what happens. But I'm cool with that, man, especially if you can get a top 5 asset at running back or receiver. I think you got to shop them. And hey, no problem, Owen. Glad to help out. I think Chase Brown really depends on your options. I think the hard part is it's not a great matchup I mean, I still have him ranked as a running back too. In a full PPR league, Chase Brown did manage to get 6 PPR points last week, but let's go look at the fantasy points per game allowed. It might be rock bottom for the Bengals, and they get a better outlook going forward. But the Broncos right now, they're actually allowing fantasy points to the running back position. 325 rushing yards, 9 receptions, 138 yards to receiving backs, a touchdown in both columns. On paper, this is not a bad spot. Amari Hampton put up a lot of fantasy points against this team last week. Jonathan Taylor did good against this team in week 2. And week 1, we did see Tony Pollard still rush for 80 or so yards. So I think for this week, unless I have like a Trey Benson or a Scatabo or a Henderson, I'm probably going to leave Chase Brown in the lineup and say, hey, it can't be as bad as last week where I got 6 points. Yeah, I thought that was weird, Mr. Magic. So when I was watching that play, they're on their own 5-yard line, so 95 yards to go, right? And Love throws this beautiful deep ball, and Golden kind of catches it clean, but when he's catching the ball, he kind of bobbled it a little bit, and he had to kind of like resecure it. And I think he just lost his balance, and his slight loss of balance and speed, he kind of just took a business decision and ran it out of bounds. But it did look like if he catches that clean, like he's gone for a 95-yard touchdown. So not only did we miss the 95-yard touchdown in week 3, we missed out on like a 90-yard touchdown in week 2, and then about a 40-yard touchdown in week 2 as well. So if you have go and buy Matthew Golden, before this big Sunday night game at the Dallas Cowboys. And even if he doesn't pop off in this game, I think there's plenty of opportunities for him to go to the bye week in week 5, and the Packers come out and they get the Bengals in week 6. So we're going to like Matthew Golden for a couple more games coming up here. Individual, thank you for hanging out. Rate my bench of Hawkinson, T. Biggins, Judkins, Olave, Sutton, 10-man short bench league. I mean, it's a 10-man league, but these are all fantasy starters in a 12-man league. Like, all of these guys feel really good. Your receiver depth is pretty nice. Higgins, Olave, and Sutton. I don't know how trade happy your league is, but if you can consolidate some of these players, I think I'm open to doing that. Whether you want to sell, you can go somewhere and offer Olave plus T. Higgins and see if you can get, a Lad McConkey or something a little bit better. But this bench is pretty good. It's probably an A-. Honestly, it's probably more of an A. That's a pretty stacked list of names there on your bench. So pretty good bench. What do we do with Calvin Ridley? Ridley has not been great. And I finally sat down to watch the Titans, and, Ridley, let me pull up Ridley here and let's make him bright green. All right, so I got Calvin Ridley at 20 targets on the year, which ranks 41st in the league. He's only got 8 catches, which is not a very good catch percentage. There's literally a million guys ahead of him with more catches. His yards per route run, not great because he's not catching a lot of passes. It's all the way down here at number 101. His targets per route run, which would be something that I think could save his number here, but he's even not he's under 19% for targets here. So this is looking like a struggle for Calvin Ridley. And what's crazy about him is he can make your day in one play. But right now the Titans just have so many issues. They just fired basically their head coach from calling plays. So, I think there's a real chance the head coach gets fired at some point this season. The offense looked really sloppy. The offensive line can't keep bodies off Cam Ward, who's having to throw under duress every time, which, a guy that needs a longer ADOT like Calvin Ridley, he's got a 12 yards ADOT, like he's more downfield. You need a good clean pocket to hit Calvin Ridley. And right now it's just not working. So for me, they get the Texans this weekend, which on paper have a good group of corners, good secondary. But if Ridley can pop off for this week, I'm probably looking to sell. So if you can hold on to Ridley and we get a good game in the next week or two, I'm probably looking to push him out and sell the, hey, he finally got this big game. Like, I'm trying to push him. But right now, like, he's not a startable asset in fantasy football, and he's a guy that I think could continue to frustrate. Should I start Dobbins over Sutton at my flex? Dobbins is going against an easy defense. I do think I would, in a game where the Broncos are they're home favorites, I got Dobbins ranked as a running back 1. I got Sutton ranked as a wide receiver 1. So basically, that comes down to who's going to score a touchdown. If I had to put money on it, it is probably J.K. Dobbins in a game where I think the Broncos, with their defense and just the way they play, like, it should be a day where they control the game, which could lead to, 15 Dobbins carries and maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. So I think you're taking the safety of the high floor with J.K. Dobbins and shooting for a nice high ceiling. Now, the Bengals here, they rank 31st in terms of running back fantasy points allowed per game. They've allowed 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns. They're giving up 30 points a game to the running backs. So even if RJ Harvey is involved, maybe this is a 20-point day for Dobbins and 10 for RJ Harvey. Something like that could totally be true. But 5 touchdowns in 3 games, I'm gonna probably continue to pick on this Bengals defense. And their passing defense is middle of the road. They've allowed 2 touchdowns, but teams want to run the ball on the Bengals. So I'm gonna probably play Dobbins here over Sutton. Yep. Yeah, man. I think if CeeDee Lamb was playing, I wouldn't feel as good about this game for the Packers, because CeeDee Lamb can easily change things. And the Packers, they really haven't been tested by I'm in Ross St. Brown and the Lions they held in check week 1, but they haven't been tested with an elite wide receiver yet. And I was hoping for it to be this week, but they'll get that opportunity in week 6 against Jamar Chase. But yeah, Packers at the Cowboys here. And I just want to pull up, we'll pull up the game lines here. And yeah, if Golden had 2 90-yard touchdowns, that's 9 points plus the catch is 10 points and 6 points for the touchdown. He's missing 32 points from those 2 plays alone. And then he had about a 40-yard touchdown. So we're missing like 46 fantasy points on Matthew Golden's line. And I don't know. Let me just see where Matthew Golden's at. He's only got like 18 fantasy points on the year. So it's not great. But if we take Mr. Golden here, there's Dobbs. Wicks has more points. So Golden's got 15 points. 15 plus 46 is 61. 61 fantasy points would put him as wide receiver 4 right now if he gets those 3 touches. Well, and it's easy to say that stuff, but I think big plays are coming for the kid. We could do Hurts, Pollard, and Keenan for JT and JMO. I would rather keep Keenan Allen over Jamison Williams right now. If I could do Hurts and Pollard for just JT straight up, I'm probably doing that. I don't really want to sell. Like, Keenan Allen is way more startable right now than Jamison Williams. I think you have the guy, like I have him ranked higher for my rest of season rankings. If I could just pull Jonathan Taylor and send Hurts plus Pollard, I think that might be, yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. I'm just going to pull up the week 4 spreads here and kind of talk about some of the defenses that you guys should be targeting. Like, if you have Buffalo defense on your waivers, like, this is a good weekend to start the Buffalo Bills. I do think the Lions defense at home against the Browns, like, the Browns still can't really score a lot of points. So Lions are a play. The Broncos are definitely at play here. I'm looking at the Houston Texans, man. They're 0-3. This is a 0-3 Texans versus 0-3 Titans in Houston. Start Houston Texans defense. Like, they should be picked up off waivers this weekend, and they should be a favorite to get some points for us. The Green Bay Packers, you're starting them. The Giants versus the Chargers. It's in New York. I want to play the Chargers D. I'm not sure. Carolina, New England, I don't have a good read on this game because Carolina just blew out Atlanta. The Patriots we don't know what to expect. I think that's a really tough game to predict what's going on. So I'm probably going to pass on that. I do think Philadelphia versus Tampa Bay is probably going to be a low-scoring game. Miami Jets, I'm not touching. I do think San Francisco could be started against the Jags. It's in San Fran, so that's not a bad spot. But anything really up here, I'm not really wanting to play defenses this week. He has, oh, okay. So he wants to stack. I would probably come back to him and offer the hurt, because I guess, yeah. Why would he go after Jalen Hurts if he's got Herbert? Like, Herbert is a top 5 fantasy quarterback right now, so that one is a little bit of a head scratcher to me. But if you can send Jalen Hurts plus a running back and get a top RB caliber, ooh. I personally, I wouldn't trade away Keenan Allen right now. I think you got to squeeze the value for it still, but getting Jonathan Taylor for Hurts and Pollard, I think, would definitely interest me. But I don't know if I want to downgrade from Keenan Allen to Jameson Williams. I do. So I've been working on this Survivor pool article, guys. If you guys play in Survivor, loser pools, or blowout pools, I've been kind of just sharing some thoughts on there, so you guys can check that out. That's a free article on here. I noted Buffalo, Detroit, Denver, Green Bay, Houston. The Chargers are the teams that I'm liking to win this week. I kind of identify the losers, which is just the same thing as the winners, just opposite. And then we get a week 5 preview, which if you guys are playing in these pools, I think it always pays to look ahead to the next week or two to kind of map out your picks. The prop bets, I don't have a prop bet loaded up yet. Maybe we do that. Let me just pull up the DraftKings Sportsbook here, and we'll just take a peek at tomorrow night's game. I think what we've been trying to do here, me and a good friend of mine, Jesse, we like to load up 10 props per week, and we usually pick one Thursday night game prop. Last week we did have, like, we're 20 and 30 on the year, and that includes CeeDee Lamb getting hurt in one of those games. So it is looking pretty good. We went 7 of 10 last week. We hit the James Cook anytime TD with the Buffalo money line last week on Thursday Night Football. I haven't really looked at this game yet. Trey Benson plus 105 to score is in play. Kenneth Walker plus 100 has the best odds to score. This is the most likely to score. It's going to be a low-scoring game, so I don't know if touchdown bets is where I want to be in this game. I think everyone realizes how good Jackson Smith and the Jigba is by now, and I think when the line opened, his receiving yards were at 78.5. He's up to 83.5. So I'm getting a little bit nervous about that one being really high. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison. I don't really know how part of me tomorrow night just wants to learn and watch these two teams live and get a better feel for them. But JSN, I mean, they're smashing him over 7 catches basically right now with 83.5 receiving yards. And Rupp Marco, good evening. Thank you for hanging out. We're doing fantastic, man. Should I drop Cooper Kupp for either Horton or Diggs? Cooper Kupp has been running a lot of routes out there. We have basically one good game out of Cooper Kupp out of the 3. Last week, I'm willing to give him a pass just because of the nature of the blowout, right? But I got Kupp down here. He's not running a ton of routes, actually, and I think a lot of that was because of last week. Let's look at his targets. I want to look for his targets per route run, which I don't expect to be too high. He's at 18.84 targets per route run. And if I go to yards per route run here, he's probably not too high either. So I don't think he's actually doing pretty good in yards per route run. He's got 136 yards, about 2 yards per route run. So if he goes out and he runs 35 routes, like, you're getting 70 yards is basically what happens, which is a good thing. I just don't expect them to have to run a lot of routes tomorrow night. So Kupp he's borderline wide receiver 3 flex. I think Torrey Horton is going to remain the wide receiver 3 unless there's an injury to JSN or Cooper Kupp. And at this point, I think I'd rather just have Cooper Kupp over Horton. But Stephon Diggs is the interesting one. I really don't know if either one of these guys sticks out to me. Diggs is here at about 1.38. He's not getting a lot of yards, but he's getting targets, which is nice. I do think touchdowns and things like that will come. He's got about the same target share as Cooper Kupp. So they're kind of the same guy for me. I think I'm going to just hold on to Cooper Kupp here. I really, if you have a preference for Stephon Diggs, I think that's fine. But Kupp and Diggs are kind of the same player to me at this point. And then Horton's a stash. Like we need other things to occur for Horton to be startable. I do like that he's catching touchdowns and being a nice wide receiver 3 for this offense, but he's not a guy that I'm going to trust every week in my lineup, at least right now. So I'm going to lean Cooper Kupp here. But honestly, if you wanted to pick up Diggs, I think that's fine. If you wanted to pick up Horton, if you don't need this player, to start for the next couple of weeks, I think it's fine taking a shot on Horton and see if he could work higher in the lineup here. Let's take a look and see where I do have Mr. Tyreek Hill. I got Tyreek Hill at wide receiver 23, nestled right between Keenan Allen and Chris Olave, right ahead of the Chiefs receivers. So I still like Tyreek. I think Tyreek has looked pretty good through a couple games here. Ooh. I'm probably going to lock in Keenan Allen here, and then I'm probably going to go with Matthew Golden. I still think we want to believe that Henderson is going to be the guy this week, but we still don't know that. It's a really nice matchup against the Carolina Panthers, but we just don't know it yet. I kind of want to see it before I believe it. With Golden, we've at least been seeing it the last couple games where we can see these big plays happening, and we know he's so close to finally catching a big touchdown. So I'm going to go Keenan Allen and Matthew Golden here. Yeah, so we got Mike Evans, Debo, Mooney, Shepard, Kirk, and Tillman. Debo's probably your wide receiver 1 right now. I think I might be open to playing Christian Kirk this week against the Titans as my number 2 receiver, and then it's going to come down to Mooney and Shepard as my number 3. So I get the need here for wide receivers. I'm probably not playing Cooper Kupp tomorrow night. Like I would rather wait for Kirk, Mooney, Shepard, and maybe Tillman, but we're banking on a touchdown there. So this is a tough thing to navigate while Mike Evans is away. So that's tough, Rupp. That's tough. I think I hold on to Cooper Kupp here. Because honestly, I don't think I'm starting Stephon Diggs over. Like I'm not super in love with starting Stephon Diggs over any of these guys, and Drake May does a good job of spreading the ball out right now, and Diggs is still kind of the number 3 receiver in terms of snaps and yards. It's just not coming yet. Maybe better days are ahead for Diggs here, but I'm gonna stick with Cooper Kupp. My question is, what if Keenan Allen just stays healthy all year long, man? Like Keenan Allen right now he's got one of the most valuable roles in fantasy football. I mean, he's here number 10 in targets per route run at 27%. So basically if he runs 100 routes, he's catching 27 balls. And at this point he's ran 100 routes. He's caught 27 balls. So that's in 3 games. So if he's going to catch, if he's going to continue to get 8, 9, 10 targets per game, I think this is a guy that does have a chance to finish it. As long as he stays healthy, he doesn't look like he's slowing down. He looks really damn good. And he's kind of the go-to red zone option. I don't know if Keenan Allen slows down, man. I want to hold. I think I want to hold on to Keenan Allen right now. I think for me, it's Debo as the 1 here, Mark. I thought Christian Kirk looked pretty good. And he didn't connect on all of his targets, but he had 8 targets in this game. And his first game back, and he was the clear number 2 receiver. Against the Titans here, I'm expecting Christian Kirk to look better. 3 catches, 8 targets. He ran 75% of the routes in this game. I do like Kirk. Mooney and the Falcons, I'm still a little bit nervous about. I think he's kind of fun, though, as a deep shot. And against the whatchamacallit, the Commanders this weekend, that's not a bad opportunity. Like, he did have 10 targets, 4 catches, 8 PPR points. Maybe Mooney is your 3 here. Debo, Mooney, and Kirk. I think I'm interested in that. And good evening to Not Jail. Woo. I don't know WSG, but that's a big if. We got St. Brown, Adams, McConkey, Jameson Williams, and Jennings for receiver. I'm concerned with McConkey right now. So I get it. McConkey has not been the second round pick that we've drafted at the beginning of the year, but touchdowns are coming, man. Like, I can't remember who I was listening to, but they pointed out, like, the Chargers had played the entire AFC West, and it's been some really tough games. Who have the chart? Well, I guess no, they're not 3-0 against the AFC West. They beat the Broncos, the Chiefs, and who is the other team that they beat? Week 2, who did they beat? I can't remember. But either way, this Chargers team, they've played some tough defenses, and Ladd McConkey's still getting 8 to 10 points per game. He's still getting targets. I think the underlying data here, like, he is their number 1 receiver in terms of snaps and routes. Like, Ladd McConkey would be at the list of guys that I'm trying to acquire, right now. He's an easy buy low opportunity. Just sit tight. I think McConkey's going to be fine. You have a good group of receivers here. I would keep pecking away with Ladd McConkey here. I'm starting to think no on the Judkins suspension, but so I was thinking about maybe it's week 3. I was thinking about maybe trying to put together like a buy high, I guess a buy sell article on the fantasy website, because I was thinking about Judkins specifically, because I'm just like, I might be willing to sell Quinshon Judkins. One, because we still don't know this answer to this question. Like, he could still be suspended. And then my biggest issue with Judkins is what happens when Dylan Gabriel is quarterback. And we're not, just targeting a ton of passes per game. And we're not, like, they're not scoring a lot of points as is. But I got to think that Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco, like, that's going to be a loss to the passing game. It's going to be a loss in the running game because you're expecting them to run more. I do worry about Judkins losing value when Gabriel's out there on the field. And we know that Judkins is just not being used as a receiver right now. And if he's not being used as a receiver with Flacco, what does that mean when Dylan Gabriel's in the lineup? So I have some concerns about Judkins long term. So if I have him, I'm definitely saying, hey, telling my league guys, like, what would you send for Quinshon Judkins? Like, let's have a dialogue here and see if we can strike a deal. Because I think maybe getting away from Judkins might not be a bad move, even though he looks fantastic as a runner. But I just see this as a long season for the Browns. Going to Gabriel soon, I have my concerns. I think JK over Alvin Kamara is fine. Let me take a look at my my running back ranks this week. And so this is the membership rankings. If you guys are interested in checking out the Fantasy Fellowship, it's $8 a month, but I upload my rankings on Wednesdays, and then Fridays I kind of double back and make my updates. I got to move J.K. Dobbins up. I have him at 20. I would rather start J.K. Dobbins probably up in here, right behind Jordan Mason. Like, I think he's on the fringe. Like, I might even put him over Mason and Hampton. He might be my RB11. So I'm moving J.K. Dobbins up, and then Alvin Kamara I have here at RB23. So I already have Dobbins ahead of him, but I'm moving Dobbins up. And the thing I like about doing rankings on Wednesdays is, like, it's my first attempt at them, and then I sit and look at them over the next day or two, and I get these locked in for Friday. Which D do I play? Seattle, Philly, Chargers, or New England? So I have this tool on the fellowship here. If you hover over content and we're going to go to the DraftKings game lines. This is one of my favorite metrics to look at. And I'm going to click on the team total page, and it's going to tell me, Buffalo up here projected to score 32.5. You come all the way to the bottom here. I'm going to remove your comment here, Mr. Magic. The Titans are projected the fewest points by Vegas. It's 15 in 3/4. The Saints down here at 16 points. The Browns are supposed to score 17.5. The Bengals. And then we get to the Giants at 18.75. It's a rookie quarterback in his first career game. The Chargers defense, I mean, they've looked really good through 3 games here. I think I'm playing the Chargers here. If I'm looking at this question again, Seattle, Philly, Chargers, or New England. I do like Seattle's defense so far to start. I think that's going to be a low-scoring game, but I just don't know. Philly, I like Philly, but it's on the road in Tampa Bay. Things can happen. New England, I don't really trust them quite yet. I think I'm starting the Chargers pretty comfortably here. Wait, we picked up Ladd McConkey? Okay, so you traded J.K. Dobbins for him. Do you think this is a good trade? I got Gibbs, Brown, Judkins, Warren, and Montgomery for RBs already. Yeah, I mean, you got Jahmyr Gibbs locked down as the 1. Chase Brown, I think we're going to upgrade Chase Brown this week to, I mean, Warren, Judkins, and Montgomery. Like, you have, between Brown, Judkins, Warren, and Montgomery, you have 4 really strong options at the RB2. So, like, moving Dobbins for McConkey, I think this is a very savvy trade to maybe get one of the best receivers in the game here. Like we know Ladd McConkey is still good. The metrics all point to him still being good. It's just a matter of time for his breakout to happen. So it's just a matter of time for me. So the good news with Chase Brown and just the Minnesota games just leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth because of the nature of the blowout. Like it just got out of hand and they didn't really have to play the starters as much in the second half. So the fact that Chase Brown still came away with 6 points in a complete murder of a game, like how many more times are the Bengals going to get murdered like that? Maybe 1, maybe. So I'm still hopeful. The big thing with Chase Brown is they're just not generating enough yards for him in the running game. He's still a very valuable passing down back, and I think he is still the goal line back. So I do think Chase Brown's numbers are going to start looking better. And as we pointed out, you can run on the Broncos. The Broncos aren't like this amazing defense like everyone kind of thinks they are. Yeah, they have Pat Surtain, but hey, we just saw Pat Surtain get roasted by Quentin Johnston last weekend. So I do think the Broncos defense slightly overrated in terms of how good we think they are. But again, here, the Broncos running back points allowed here, they rank 21st. They've given up a ton of rushing yards. You can throw the ball to the running backs here for some big plays, and they give up some touchdowns here. I think it's going to be an okay spot for Chase Brown, and I can't see the Bengals looking as bad as they did in Week 3. We absolutely love Jaylen Warren, and this is a good one. Like, I got to take a drink for this one because Jaylen Warren, he's been a guy that I've just been in love with for about the last 2 or 3 years, and his biggest issue is Najee Harris was just in his way, and they draft a guy with their first round pick. They're going to use him up. And now that he's finally gone, we're able to see Jaylen Warren truly shine and look like a quality player here. Where is my Steelers? Did I completely miss this? Who do they just play? Here we go. All right. So this is the box score from last week. And Week 1 was like a lot of Kenny Gainwell, right? And a couple snaps for Caleb Johnson. This week, Week 3, no snaps for Caleb Johnson. And Jaylen Warren dominates 43 out of 54 snaps, 15 out of 25 routes. Like, this is what we want. This is a running back 1 profile from Week 3 here. If he gets 18 carries and 5 catches, like this is a bell cow. Like, this is like Bucky Irving numbers here. Like, this looks really, really sweet. And it's just a matter of how many touchdowns Jaylen Warren can get. So he is definitely somebody that I want on my fantasy teams right now. He is a rock steady running back too. In the weeks that he scores touchdowns, he's probably a top 10 running back. So we love Jaylen Warren around here. I'm probably going to go with, let's pull up the QB numbers allowed here. And again, all this is all available on the fantasyfellowship.com, guys. But the Miami Dolphins, they've given up 3 rushing touchdowns on the year here. They've got 6 passing touchdowns allowed. They don't take away the ball. Like, this is a good opportunity for Justin Fields. Bo Nix, on the other hand, he is playing the Cincinnati Bengals, but teams are kind of electing to just run the ball against the Bengals, and we're seeing running backs have good days. And if if the Broncos are playing well and running the ball and they don't need to throw the ball as much, that kind of just takes the ball out of Bo Nix's hands. So I'm playing Fields over Bo Nix. Out of Brown, Walker, Warren, Judkins, and Monty, who should be my RB2 this week? And should any of these guys take my flex as well over McConkey? So I definitely feel the safest with Jaylen Warren. Warren is going against the Vikings, which we saw last week how good the Vikings can be on a given weekend here. The Vikings do rank 10th. They're allowing 18.73 points per game in the PPR department. Teams are electing to throw the ball here. They've given up 12 receptions, but that's a lot of rushing yards. 313 rushing yards in just a few games here. That's a lot. And I know Atlanta did a lot of that in week number 2. So I do think Warren offers this really nice, safe floor of 10 to 12 PPR points. And if he does get the touchdown or he runs hot on catches, Warren is probably the safest RB2. I think, Brown, Walker, Judkins, Montgomery, I have questions on all of these guys, especially, Walker with Zach Charbonnet back tomorrow night, Chase Brown, just the state of the Bengals, Judkins, what if that game's for Judkins and Montgomery, it's like, that's a weird game. If the Lions are blowing out the Browns, we don't need as much Judkins. And then also, the Cleveland Browns rushing defense is really, really freaking good. Number 2 in the league. They've allowed the fewest rushing yards through 3 weeks, only 128. So it's like, how good can David Montgomery be against one of the best defensive lines in the league? I'm probably leaning Jaylen Warren here, and then I'm going to probably keep McConkey in there as well. So I'll go Warren and McConkey. Johnny D, good evening. We're running an overtime tonight, guys. We're over an hour. I'm going to answer Johnny D's questions here, and then we'll probably get out of here for the evening. We need some desperate help, he says. We went 0 quarterback as a draft strategy, and we're 0-3 with great depth. Studs have been duds. My running backs are Hall, Pollard, Benson, Monty. Thomas Jr. and London have been non-factors. My only standouts have been Irving and Lamb, Tet McMillan as my whatever. I'm in a 10-team PPR league and feel this team is extremely risky, boom bust material. These guys should be performing, but they're not. My other receivers are Tucker, Debo, who I picked up off waivers. Alrighty. So injuries are one of the worst things about fantasy football. You could have to me, like, you got a lot of good names here, which fantasy football, it's one of those things where there's only 14 weeks to get your fantasy team in the playoffs. In a 10-man league here, you probably need to win 8 or 9 games. You need to be 8-6, 9-5. And I don't know how many teams make the playoffs. I'm assuming it's 6, but 8-6, 9-5 is probably where you need to be. I think this opportunity here to go 0-3, you can only really afford 3 more losses throughout the year, So there's still time to figure this out. I think you have a lot of good names here, and now we just need to make sure we get the right picks in each week. So if I go back here, my running backs are Hall, Pollard, Benson, Montgomery. I mean, you get the Trey Benson, man. So that's good news here. I think I'm starting Trey Benson as one of my RB2s. You have Bucky Irving as your RB1. I'm probably going to rank Benson there as my 2. I think Breece Hall with Justin Fields excites me a little bit, and he would be my number 3 running back behind Benson. Pollard and Montgomery are kind of matchup dependent guys. I do think, despite Brian Thomas Jr. being an absolute nightmare start to the year, he's still getting 7, 8, 9 points, which, if those are bad games from Brian Thomas Jr., what does a good game look like? That's one of the things that I'm thinking about, because he's been so close. Last week, he had an 18-yard catch called back from a stupid illegal shift. So that's another 2.8 points left on the board. He had like a really tough catch that he caught, and he just didn't complete the catch. It would have been for, I don't know, maybe 30, 35 yards. And then he did have the bad game in week 2 against Cincinnati. There's so many points that he's left on the field. But I think the thing with Brian Thomas Jr. is that he's getting the opportunity to make these plays. It's just a matter of time before he does. And that's kind of the thing with fantasy football, is your team might not be hitting on all cylinders, and you might be 0-3, but like, you have a lot of good names here. And I think over the course of 14 games, how many bad games is Brian Thomas Jr. going to have? these might be his only 3. He might have 5 or 6 bad games in total. But I think over the course of 14 games in a season, I don't care what seed I am in the playoffs. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go 8-6 in a 14 game season. And I'm basically, I try not to care about the wins losses until I get to a point where it's backed up and I can't afford any more losses. But I think you have enough good names here. We just have to get the best lineup in. Losing CeeDee Lamb obviously hurts quite a bit. Getting that 0 last weekend probably didn't help. I'm assuming you probably would have won. But you picked up Debo with Terry McLaurin probably missing this weekend. You have some good things here. I think this is, yes, a string of bad luck. But over time, a good team, I think you have a lot of good names here and a lot of good players. I think over time, wins will come. Even if you go to 0-4 this weekend without Lamb, I still think this team might be salvageable because I like a lot of these names on this list. So 0 quarterback, I think you're going to be okay. I don't know who the quarterback is here, but I'm going to express not too much gloom here. I think some optimism here, and hopefully you're due for some positive regression. You finally got a good thing with Trey Benson becoming a starting running back here. It's frustrating. Fantasy football sucks sometimes. I play in 5 leagues here, and I'm 0-3 in one league. I think I'm 0-3 in a dynasty league here, and I just sometimes it's just kind of laughable about how many things can go wrong because it's almost like I don't know what law it is, but I think it's Murphy's law. Like whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Let's hope Brian Thomas Jr. gets it figured out. And hey, I appreciate you, not jail. Thank you for hanging out with us on a Wednesday night. We do this every Wednesday, 7 p.m. We'll continue to be here for you guys. I did post my stream schedule earlier today in my TikTok and my YouTube channel, but Tuesday nights we go live at 7 p.m. Central Time is when I go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday night we do a waiver wire show for about an hour. Wednesday nights, same time, 7 p.m. Central Time. We just kind of open it up and I'll cover a few things, but I'm mostly just here to answer your start sit questions. And then Thursday night football, I like to go live at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, which is roughly 45 minutes before the game starts. I'll go over the player news from the day and answer any start sit questions you guys have. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays is my usual schedule. If I'm feeling it, sometimes I might go live on a Friday or Saturday, but I try not to do that. And then Sunday mornings, I go live at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. That's an hour and a half before kickoff. And I do that so that I can get the active list out there and answer any start sit questions. So I appreciate you, not jail. Thank you for hanging out. And hey, I'm happy to go over. If we go over, we go over, man. Henderson's on my waiver list. Should I be picking him up? I already have a good running back line, as I mentioned above. I'm not sure if I want a 7th running back. You'd have to drop a receiver like Juwan Jennings. I mean, right now, Juwan Jennings does have a murky profile with his injuries that he's kind of amassed the first couple of weeks here. You also have Ricky Pearsall running hot. You also have George Kittle back in a little bit and Brandon Ayuk. This might not be a terrible time to drop a guy like Juwan Jennings. Guys like Travion Henderson, if they're dropped, that's a pretty stupid thing to do. I think to drop a guy that you probably spent a high draft pick on. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up Travion Henderson here, and I'm not going to lose sleep about Juwan Jennings because even if Juwan Jennings comes back and he's playing well, you still have George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, and then eventually Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey to deal with. It could be a very frustrating, when do I start Juwan Jennings every week here? So I think if I have to drop Juwan Jennings to pick up Travion Henderson, I have to drop Juwan Jennings to pick up Travion Henderson. So I appreciate it, guys. This was a good show tonight. Again, I do this every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. I do have a honeymoon coming up in October. So I'm going to miss a couple shows for that. But for the most part, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday night are my schedule, and Sunday mornings as well. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow night. I appreciate you. Like the video, subscribe if you guys are new. And thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow night. Peace.